These next ones are called the Fervous Rants. They are two-parters, but they will be submitted together, or they are counted as one. Now, this next poem is called Love. Love is far more vicious and vile than any torture known in this world or the next. Love is the most regrettable action one can take, the one thing that will make death feel like home. Though you've seen it with others and you've heard of its horrors, you'll tell yourself, that won't happen to me. So you take a sip and it all seems fine. But then you take a drink. And then a gulp. Until you've eventually finished the whole cup. And then you come to realize you've been slowly poisoning yourself. And with all the time you've taken, it is much too late to be cured, as your insides voraciously eat at the acid you have devoured, and collapse on itself, rendering you helpless. So there's only two options. Let the poison finish its course and face the bitter end. Or vomit what you can and go on, half empty, but whole, regretting you cannot take any of it back. Now the next one for the first rant is called To the Uninvited. I had so carefully kept my emotions under lock and key, and no one was ever allowed to touch them. But then you, a simple fool, just had to come and change that. You ignored the warning sign that I wore and took things into your careless hands. You broke the lock and welcomed yourself into this place of brittle stone, the place you called my heart and made your home as you pitched a tent. It was shattered and ravaged by the time you came, but you took in the bitter gustation in hope of a sweet aftertaste. I longed for you to learn to enjoy the bitterness, and quit searching because that is what you longed for instead, to stay in this unwelcome home you made because it desired you back. And while you did quit your search, you left instead because you discovered that there was no aftertaste that you sought. But the tent you pitched was left behind, and I have no clue of how to rid myself of it. Now this last one is called Precious Tears. I started on the stage as merely a villain, and yet you were that one in a million, and the most viable prize. Nothing could compare to how much of a treasure you were in my eyes. Somehow my spent time of you was quite a shock. While you, a priceless gem, I was nothing but a common rock. And yet you picked me up and said you cherished me, and your touch made me feel, for once in my life, as smooth as a stone could be. Even still, I caused you pain and tears, knowing that it could drive you away, which also succumbed to my fears. Never a clue for my actions, for I knew from the start you were my desire, and yet you tended to both our wounds without me needing to inquire. But when struck down, though fault be undoubtedly mine, you ran to my side, showing me love's true design. Feeling wrong that I of all people cause of your dread, and so, in my heavy breath, I then said, a despicable monster, like me, is unworthy of the precious tears of a remarkable creature such as you. And yet, you wept. Now this is the one I'm sure people are like, oh, you stole it from every item of her little girl and or smirking girl and little boy. No, it is honestly how I felt. This one is actually very, very personal, and thus, please don't make comparisons because of that. The way she did that just was so perfect to me and just became perfectly what I needed to make this. So, hopeless little girl. Hopeless little girl. So that's it. You are packing away and leaving. No time to stop. Stop and think about the truth under our noses. How many years will you be gone? Hundreds? A millennia? Ah, but we all know very well. You'll come back again tomorrow, full of sweets, and lost the sour. But that flavor will come back at a later hour. Hopeless little girl, I've too much to say, but I know I will not speak these words any other day. About how many times I've cried at the thought of losing you. About how many times you left me thinking that there was never a thing I could do. Hopeless little girl, maybe you were right. I am a cruel coward, and so very often I would bite my tongue. But I had finally saved the blood loss and started to blurt out all these words that would hurt. I should have set in my teeth, so I wouldn't have said the wrong things, but I was hurt as hell and couldn't think to defend myself because I'd prove you right that I was your victim. Hopeless little girl, I never wanted you to be right, nor did I want you to feel wrong. I wanted to love you with all my heart, but never knew where to start. Because my avoidance could never end when you were by my side, and how wrong I felt when I wanted you to leave, but even now as I breathe, I just want you gone, but somewhere safe where we can still be friends. Hopeless little girl, I know you are miserable, and there's only one way that we are able to rid of these fights and ever so harsh nights, and that's to part our ways until some future days, because all I wanted was for you to be happy and to see you smile, so we can forget these past deeds and finally talk for a while. Alright, so this next one is called Why is the Door Locked? Sonnets. Sonnet. It's just one sonnet. In her ears, the sound was very quite loud, and then they found that they could not get in. Deep in her chambered heart, she had now found the cold, foretold hand wrapped around her chin. Time for warm drops was far past it all now, as she had shoved all the ovals down there. Coming to this point, she had plotted how, like Ophelia, flowers everywhere. She was far beyond to hear all their calls. Trapped in the play, her mind had to comply. The curtain raised, and she heard the applause. Alas, I'm gone, was all that she could cry. So when they ask about gloomy Sunday, they need to know this was the only way. This next one is called To Cry Out. What right have I to complain and cry on the bed which I lie, with every thought I deny, all the gushing breaths and then sigh? What right do I have, with my journal on my calf, being divided into a half, with writing being my only salve? What right do I get to go and throw this fit, and hate myself every bit, then feel like complete shit? Has my flame not been lit? What right this time, as I go write another terrible rhyme, hearing the bells chime, my head being covered in grime, and feeling as though I've committed a crime? What right has passed me by, with the dark thoughts I lie, desiring to go out and fly, but I can't even try, as I stare up into the sky, with nothing on standby, hoping one day I'll untie this pitiful outcry. So this one's another double feature one. The first one is called The Queen's Regrets. I used to be a toy for man, a wretched life I had began, famed in my burlesque light. Each night was an eternal fight. They'd come to me and I'd fulfill the day. And then suddenly I was tossed away. They wanted my body and not my soul. This heart no man hoped to stole. No feelings of tender love and care. This life for me was hard to bear. I gave up hope of a love so true, and desire of starting a life that's new. But suddenly something came to change, even when things seemed so vague. And when I felt engrossed in pending doom, I saw him all the way across the room. Then this next one is called He Embraced Me. All the way across the room, he embraced me. Feeling engrossed with pending doom, he embraced me. When the sky is blue and the moon is bright, in arms with the starry night, he embraced me. When no one else will take my hand, he embraced me, the only one who will be my man. He embraced me, knowing that there is a we in times of struggle, strange or glee. He embraced me, so I'll do the same.